Welcome to our Monday, May the 12th meeting. If we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. And we'll open up the microphone to my right, the one that's standing by itself, for public comment. If you'd like to get comment on anything tonight, we do have some hearings that also are public hearings, which you'll be also to make a comment on. So if you'd like to wait on the issues at hand under public hearing, great. If there's anything else that you'd like to come up to the microphone, my right, your left, please feel free, and we'll give you 3 minutes. If not, I'll close public hearing and move to item number 2, consider the consent agenda.
I would like to remove a few items from the consent agenda.
Okay, sure.
A, approve the board minutes,
Okay,
item A, and payroll and vouchers,
okay,
and D, item D, the safety path retaining wall.
so A, D, and F, Mark?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll move those to we'll make those item number 10A and 10A, B, and C. Okay? Any other changes to the consider the consent agenda? If not, I'll move for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support? Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes 5-0. You'll notice we're missing a couple of our trustees tonight. Val Murray, as I indicated in the past, had a medical emergency about a month ago. She's been in recovery, and she just came home from ICU. She's doing very well considering what she's been through, but right now she just needs some rest and recovery. So we hope to see her soon, but to be here tonight probably would have been a little bit too soon for her. And Chris Galinsky had a personal situation that he is involved, and so he won't be with us tonight, but he'll be back in 2 weeks. So there's 5 of us tonight, and we're happy to be here. Item number 3, we'll move on. Presentation of Stonycroft Culvert Replacement Project, Woodward Avenue full closure, presented by Jordan Rutowski, PE Projects and Contracts, Project Manager for the Department of Transportation. Welcome, Jordan.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm Jordan Rutowski. I work at MDOT, and this is David Annison. We work out of the Oakland TSC, and we're just here to tell you about this upcoming culvert replacement we have on Woodward Avenue. So the location, this is really zoomed out, but it's south of Square Lake, right in downtown, or right in the Bloomfield Hills city. And this is a zoomed in version of it. It's just south of Hickory Grove. The culvert spans the entire length of Woodward. We are replacing the entire thing, and it's right next to that driveway where those condominiums are right there. So right now, if you look at M1 above, you can see that there is a crack across the pavement, which indicates the culvert has structural distress. And underneath, the latest safety inspection shows that there's spalling on the ceiling and culvert joints, and the tap locations are spalling and losing contact with each other, which basically means that the culvert is in poor shape and that it requires a full replacement. This culvert conveys 300 cubic feet per second for a 10-year storm, 445 cubic feet per second at a 50-year storm, and 525 cubic feet per second at a 100-year storm. And it is currently 11 by 17 feet a box culvert, and we're going to be upsizing it to 20 by 10 in order to be at capacity for that flow rate. Some restrictions we have with this project are fishery restrictions, which basically means that we cannot touch or work with the water from March until the end of June, which is obviously a large part of our construction season. And it's also on Woodward, which is the third weekend of August, it's also where Dream Cruise is, which is the third weekend of August, which we obviously don't want to impact. As we were looking at building this project, we went over different ways to maintain traffic. The first one we thought of was the full detour, which we thought might be too impactful. And so we were looking at crossovers, which would mean we would take all the traffic from northbound and move it to southbound, and we would have 2 lanes going in one direction, 1 lane going in the other. A crossover would span over the median, and it would go from just north of Long Lake all the way to north of Square Lake, so it would be super impactful. It would rip out a lot of the medians, a lot of the trees that were already there, and there would be a lot of maintaining the traffic at both Hickory Grove and Square Lake, since the detour would span through those. So we decided that that option was too impactful to the community, that it would cause a little bit too much distress in the traffic. The second one we looked at was a partial lane closure. This would only leave 1 lane open in each direction, north and south on Woodward, and the construction would last for 2 to 3 years. That is obviously also really impactful. And so we did not go with that option, and the option we are going with that we recommend is a full detour, but it would only last for 3.5 months, and Woodward would be completely restored by Dream Cruise of the next year. Now, this is our tentative construction dates. At the end of 2026, in October, there would be a single or maybe double lane closure just for some sanitary sewer work. And then from April until July the next year, there would be 1 single lane closure in each direction, the outside and inside lanes, for some water main work. And the majority of the work, the 3.5-month detour, would be from August 30th until December 20th. And then the detour would be over and the road would be back open for everybody. So this would be the official detour if we had to only use MDOT roads. We would go from Square Lake down Telegraph, down 696. I know it's a really big detour. They're the closest roads that MDOT owns, though, so officially those are the roads we can post as the detour. However, a lot of the local traffic will go from Square Lake to Telegraph to Long Lake, which is a much shorter detour. Our COC would have to approve if we put that as the official detour, and at the moment I think they don't want to do that, but they do understand that a majority of the local traffic would take this way. Finally, for that the driveway right next to the culvert, it's the only way in and out of that condominium that would be open at all times for those residents. They would be able to come in and use the turnaround the opposite direction in order to get in and out of their driveway. And for the Roper School right there, we would build a temporary crossover so they could get in and out of the school during the construction season. And that is all I have.
So Jordan, this is going on between off of Woodward Avenue, Long Lake to Hickory Grove area. It's in the city of Bloomfield Hills. Mm-hmm. And what's the date of this planned event?
So the full closure will be 2027, August until December.
After the Dream Cruise?
After Dream Cruise.
In 2027?
Yes.
So for us, it's FYI.
Yes.
But does the city of Bloomfield Hills need to approve this, or Oakland County?
It's not approval, but I guess if you have anything you'd like to state, anything you're worried about, we would like to hear about it. We'd like to work with you guys. We know it's really impactful to your community. So this is us saying this is our plan. If you have any major concerns, please let us know. We'd like to work together on it. Mm-hmm. So. No,
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
We've just noticed a lot of additional traffic down our mile road since 696 eastbound's been closed down. Mm-hmm. The traffic and the backups have been extraordinary.
Yes. Yes, so 696 will be open until DeQuinder by the time this project happens. So that route will not be under construction and it'll be all lanes open by the time we use that detour.
Okay.
So-
It'll be back.
Yes, it
So
will be
that'll
back.
help alleviate what we're
Yes.
seeing today.
Yes,
Okay.
it should.
Any other?
One question. So if folks who are listening or watching have a comment they want to relay to you all, is there a place they can send an email or make a phone call?
Yeah, you can email me. I guess I'm not sure. I could just say it, or if you guys send out minutes or something.
If you're willing to let us know your email, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, this phone number? Okay. All right. The phone number is 248-451-0001.
And what does that take us to?
Is this just the office? It's the Oakland TSC.
Okay.
And so it'll be in the main office, and then if you say you have questions about this project in particular, you'll be pushed to me.
Any
Thank
other
you.
comments or questions?
Thanks for being here.
Can you go back to the detour routes?
This big one?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other routes that will be approved other than this?
This is the most likely. Do you have a different idea?
Well,
Or-
there's more than one way to get around that area.
There
And as you
is.
mentioned, a lot of people would be using Long Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Square Lake also runs towards the east, so if you're going east, since Woodward's running, will there be any other approved routes?
So these are the roads that are MDOT roads that we have control over that we can say are on the detour. If we use any other local roads, we have to get approval from RCOC to get them on the detour map. So it is possible, but this is the only guarantee I can give you is with MDOT roads that we can use this as a detour.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No other questions. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update and the information. Okay, our next item is item number 4, public hearing. Consider approval of a site plan and special land use request for Shell Gas Station, 6490 Telegraph Road with liquor license, presented by Andrea Bibby, our new Director of Planning and Building Ordinance. Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, good evening, thank you. Just waiting for my PowerPoint, very brief PowerPoint. Okay, good evening, thank you. This evening when I'm presenting before you is a request on behalf of the property owner at 6490 Telegraph Road. As you recall, back in November, the Township Board adopted ordinance number 690 to allow for the sale for automobile service stations to serve alcohol if specific criteria can be met. So what I'd like to do this evening is give you an overview of the proposal of the service station located at 6490 Telegraph, which you can see highlighted on your screen. This is located at the northwest corner of Telegraph Road in West Maple, and the property is zoned B3 General Business. And here is an aerial of that same property. Again, the property is zoned B3 General Business and surrounded by B2 Community Business to the north, which is First Merchants Bank, Sherwin-Williams, Jersey Mike's, as well as the Goldsmith Gallery store on the south of Maple Road. And Telegraph Road is located to the east. So essentially, what we're asking the board to do this evening is consider, after the applicant has demonstrated that they are able to comply with the required provisions that are part of the that are stated in the ordinance 690 to allow for the sale of automobile services to serve alcohol. In this example, I've provided you the highlighted floor plan showing the existing floor plan in the property owner's intended areas in which they would locate the sale of liquor, beer, and wine within their store. They do meet the requirements as laid out as I stated in ordinance number 690. They do maintain a 750-foot distance to schools. They exceed the required 0.51 acre of land area, which is also a requirement of the adopted ordinance. It does not offer any drive-through service or any auto repair. And I also want to note that the store is currently 2,340 square feet, thus exceeding the minimum 2,000 square foot land building area that was adopted under the adopted ordinances. I do want to note that the applicant was approved historically back in 2019 to operate 24 hours a day. At this time, the applicant is not seeking to operate 24 hours a day. They're asking actually to continue their normal hours of operation and not seeking to have that 24-hour that use. Just provided some site photos, as many of you are familiar with this existing store. In terms of actual site changes to the site, there are no. The site plan shows existing ingress and egress from Telegraph and Maple Road, and that does meet another requirement of our ordinance, which refers to the site having appropriate site ingress and egress. I do want to note that the applicant will be going before to the Zoning Board of Appeals, as they're going to be seeking one additional wall sign to add to the existing facade that you can see here highlighted on the screen. They are looking to have a sign that reads liquor, which would be located on the exterior, actually to the, in this photograph, to the left towards Maple Road of the existing sign. With that, our various departments did have an opportunity to review this request. Did have an opportunity to get reviewed by both our design review board as well as our planning commission. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And I also know that we have the property here, property owner as well. I do want to note that any conditions of approval would be subject to the liquor license agreement with the township.
Yes.
Being signed by the applicant, as well as compliance with the requirements of the township departments.
Well, thank you, Andrea. So at this time, we'll just open it up for public hearing. So if you're here to speak upon the item number 4, the gas station with the liquor license at Telegraph and Maple, if you come up to the microphone, my right, your left, and make any comments, now is your time. Okay, if not, we will close public hearing and we'll open up the board for any comments, and we could also hear from the owner if they have anything to say as well. Any comments or questions from the board?
Other than the fact, I know this has been a long, long process for the property owner. This goes back over 10 years. And certainly he and his business have been thoroughly vetted by the Liquor Commission, by the township. This whole process and the ordinance revision has been before the township over really a 2-year period. And as one who originally was opposed to this prior to the revision, certainly very confident in the owner, and very supportive of this site plan and special land use request that's been presented before us.
Any other comments?
I would echo Trustee Barnett. I think that we spent a lot of time in deliberating the amendment to the ordinance, and I think that this is a good result, and so I'm pleased to support this.
Okay. So if no
I
other...
do have
Yes,
a
Mark.
couple questions. Are there any other places in this vicinity that sell liquor, beer, or wine?
We do have the CVS, which is the retail package outlet across the street. We also have Nino Savaggio's, Trader Joe's, but those are under the package liquor license. This is specific to the requirements in the ordinance as it relates to automobile. So they do serve liquor. They don't have the same requirements as that are laid out under Ordinance 690 that I just presented.
They sell liquor. They don't
They
serve
sell,
it.
I'm sorry, my apologies, sell.
Does the Shell station sell any service items for automotive repair?
No, that was just presented. They do not. Otherwise,
Do they sell-
would not meet criteria.
Do they sell windshield wiper fluid? Do they sell brake fluid? Do they sell additives for a fuel injector cleaner?
Those would be considered customary, common materials that would be sold in auto service stations. So I would presume that those type of items are sold. We can have the property owner address that if you have specific comments about what's being sold.
And he's here. I think Scott Barbette is here. Scott, do you mind coming up to the microphone and addressing Trustee Antocli's questions, please?
Maybe we can figure out the relevance.
Yeah, there we go.
Hello, everyone. Scott Barbat, the Barbat Organization. Mr. Ntakle, yeah, those are customary items, and I would say 99.9% of gas stations do sell washer solvent. That's a key item, yeah.
My concern is the auto repair side. You can park in front, you can do some minor repairs with the items in. Whether you're selling the repair items or not, I can go to AutoZone, buy various items, change them out right in the parking lot as well. So the ordinance, as stated, was do you do repairs or those items in the area? So
Believe there's
you might not
specific-
be offering the service, but a customer could walk in and do the repairs.
I don't know if you can categorize that filling your washer solvent as repairs or brake fluid as repairs. I believe the ordinance
Maintenance?
specifically, maintenance probably, specifically refers to garages,
Correct.
so.
I'm not sure, but I think if you go to CVS Pharmacy, you can find those same items as
You
well.
can as well.
Yep.
And the
That's
ordinance
true.
does say garage. It does say a repair garage.
Yes, it does.
Mark, you have any further questions?
No, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
No, but I'd like to make a motion that we approve the site plan and the special land use request as presented for 6490 Telegraph Road, the Shell's gas station.
Support?
Support.
Is there a question, Mark?
Would that include the conditions?
Yes,
Yes.
and the conditions of the dealing with the liquor license and
Okay.
any other conditions.
Thank you. So we have motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, oh, nope, okay. Passes 5-0. Okay, congratulations, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good luck.
item number 5, public hearing of assessment number 2. Consider approval of the resolution confirming the special assessment role for the gold phase of Bloomfield Village Road Paving Special Assessment District number 428, and consider authorizing the Road Commission for Oakland County, RCOC, to proceed with the project, presented by Jennifer Worthman, our Deputy Assessor. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you. So tonight we're looking at two different special assessments in front of you. The first one we're going to look at is the Bloomfield Village Phase 3, also known as the Gold Phase Road Special Assessment Proposed Paving Project. We are here for the public hearing of assessment tonight. This section includes Judson Bradway's Bloomfield Village subdivision, as well as Judson Bradway's Bloomfield Village number 1 subdivision. You can see on the map here, we're looking at roughly the southernmost area of Bloomfield Village. Again, this is the gold phase. The project scope is 2.09 miles of public road that include Morning View Terrace, Hamilton Road, Overview Road, Clifton Road, Bradway Boulevard South, Williamsbury Road North, Glengarry Road North, Cranbrook Cross Road North, Chewton Cross, and Chewton Road South. The project consists of pulverizing the existing road and placing new asphalt pavement 4 inches thick over the aggregate base with a full depth cold milling and asphalt removal. Total curb and gutter replacement and removal, total under drain installation with sodded shoulders. Minor drainage improvements will be made to reasonably assure drainage of the pavement, and all shoulders and disturbed areas will be covered with topsoil and sod. Maximum 5-foot approach will be constructed to existing driveways to provide smooth transition from the newly paved roads where necessary. The Road Commission received bids on March 25th of 2025. The lowest bid was received from Cadillac Asphalt. The final project cost is $7,610,478. We're looking at 150 parcels in this phase, which breaks down to $50,736.52 per unit of benefit. This is 0.6% over the estimate that was included on the petition. Projects can be financed over 15 years. Interest is to be determined after the bonds are sold. It'll be 1% above the bond rate. Tonight I'm requesting that we hold public hearing number 2, and then following that, approve resolution number 3 and authorize the Road Commission to proceed with their project.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Of course.
So at this time, I'll open up for public comment. If you're here to comment on item number 5, the assessment for item number 2, the gold phase of the village, the microphone to my right, the standalone microphone, please come up. And you have 3 minutes if you just introduce us, your name and address, we would ask that in 3 minutes. This is for the gold phase.
My name is Brian Cott. I live at 138 Hup Cross Road. I'm a former president of the Bloomfield Village Association Board and a current board member. I'm speaking here to encourage the board to adopt a positive resolution in this case. I personally have been working on this project for the whole village for over 5 years. The board and the volunteers in the village have followed all of the statutory requirements and the administrative requirements of the township, the road commission, and the statutes. Over the past 2 years, we have solicited, there have been 4 sections of the board. My comments will speak to all 4, the whole project. We've solicited 714 residents in the community. Of those residents, 386 have voted in favor of the project, the road replacement. That's 54%. The no votes are 213, which is just under 30%, and we have no response from approximately 16% of the people. The roads have been experts have told us that the roads have been needed replaced since 2000. We've finally been able to generate the interest and begin the process to do this. I encourage you to approve both this project and the yellow project. For the record, the votes in favor of the gold project were 52% in favor, 27.3% against. And the yellow project is 54.3% in favor and 25.8% against. The residents of the Bloomfield Village desire this work to be done, and it's important that we move forward with these projects. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Carpenter. I live at 148 North Glengarry in Bloomfield Township. I am in the gold section. I am here to object formally to the roads. First of all, I was moved to come up here because I heard the other gentleman say there were no votes. I did not have the opportunity to vote no. All it was a petition where you could go and sign it to say you were yes. I have no idea where the no vote came from. If I had known there was a place to vote no, I would have done that. I have seen for the past, last summer, we had part of our neighborhood roads redone. There were so many problems I heard from our residents up there. Sprinklers broken, debris. What is the biggest problem, though, are the roads are already deteriorating. There are big holes, and this project doesn't give us a warranty. There is no warranty on these roads that I'm going to be spending over $50,000 on against my will. And I've heard from other road construction and other people who are more familiar with this, they say if you do any repair to the road and you take off any part of it, you're just going to get the water to seep under and the roads won't be good. So knowing that the roads that were done just last year are already showing potholes and destruction and they're not up to standard, in my opinion, I would vote no. There are other alternatives. There could have been a bidding process that was different. You could have solicited and tried to advertise for lower costs. That wasn't done. It was just open for bids. And I see we have a different contractor this time around. I have no idea why Ajax isn't doing it again. For these reasons, I would ask the board to vote no.
My name is Douglas Paul. I live in the yellow section, 1451 Courtly Terrace. It's a cul-de-sac. There's only 4 houses on a road. It's not in really bad shape. And in our area, we have some really, basically the roads are in pretty good shape. When the petition came around, I said, how do I vote no? And they said, well, if you don't vote, it's a vote no. I heard that young man stand up and say, well, there's a lot of people that didn't vote. Well, guess what? I was told if I didn't vote, it's a no vote. I question the accuracy and of what he presented. I know there's a lot of people in my area that are very concerned about it. And specifically, I'm concerned about it because I see what they've done on other roads. They rip them out, and then they tear up the 4 or 5 feet on the other side of the curb. Well, guess what? I've spent a lot of money in upgrading my house. I've been there since 1986. I have brick pavers coming down. Well, who's going to take care of the brick pavers? More importantly, where my brick pavers intersect the road, I've got boxwoods around there. I've got hostas in there. When they come through there, they're going to tear that up. I already talked to my arborist. He says, you can't set them off the side. Well, who's going to restore that for me? Is that more money out of my pocket? This is going to cost me $56,000 for the roads because of the area I live in. And what really upsets me is that this proposal was introduced by these people 8, 9 years ago for, say, $46,000. But the requirement was it stuck with the owner. Well, I'm 86 years old. If I retire, I still got to pay the damn thing. So the next time it came around, they said, okay, well, it passes to whoever owns it. If they had been smart enough to do it 6, 8 years ago, it would have been done. A lot of people would have gone for it because our roads in that area, not maybe in my area, but in the whole village, they need repair. I don't object to getting repaired, but I think there's some arbitrary decisions that are going on. It's gone from $46,000 to $58,000 over a period of 8 years. Somebody is getting something back, and I question the validity of what he's talking about. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I object to the roads as well. You've heard over and over again about all the red flags we've seen going along this process. Oh, I'm sorry. Pat Parks, 164 North Glengarry. I've been up before. I've been to all the meetings. I've tried to really understand what's going on, but not only are we paying the $50,000, but then when you add the interest, $72,000, and then the neighbor across the street from me is paying the same amount for my 75 feet of road. That's $144,000 for 75 feet of road. I mean, that's a real hardship on a lot of people, and I just don't understand. They're not even addressing the sewers, which I think you're going to have to go back down because those are very antiquated. The infrastructure's antiquated. You may have to go back down and get those sewers again. I just don't understand why we're not doing the full job and why it costs us so much. Can you tell me anyone in our Bloomfield Township that's paying this much? Anyone? No one?
We're just here to hear your comment.
Okay, well, yeah, I wish that you could comment because I have so many questions and I've written a lot of things, but it's a real hardship, and we tried to sell our house. We ended up taking it off the market. I know the times aren't good, but people said, are you paying for the roads? So it's not really a benefit to us seniors to have, or people moving, to have these roads done. There's different ways to do these roads. We weren't given any options. There's cheaper ways to do these roads. The patch in front of my house was done 10 years ago, and it's fine.
It's fine. And I'm noticing that they're cracking up already on the other side. And I just feel it's a real hardship on a lot of families. And you've heard countless number of people telling you this. There must be another way that we can do it more equitable, especially when we're paying the same price for 75 feet of road as those gigantic houses down the street from us. You know, it's not fair that we're paying for them. It's not fair that we're paying for Cranbrook and Covington, and I know they're throwaways, and I understand they're paved by the county, but they use our roads. They're part of our village. They use our roads. So there's so many red flags in this to me going forward, and I've heard all the stories about the flooded basements, and quite honestly, with health issues, getting in and out is going to be a real hard deal for us. Really is. I don't know where we're going to park. I don't know how we're going to get in and out. I just think that a lot of people don't like this. It passed by 1 or 2 votes in everything. I wish you had looked at the votes again. I wish you had made sure they were accurate. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure because it passed by 1 or 2 votes. So thank you very much, and I object.
Thank you, Ms. Parks.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is David Groth. I live at 1435 North Glengarry. I've lived in the village since 1988. The roads have been bad the whole time, but they're absolutely awful now. They're dangerous for kids to ride a bike. I won't let my grandchildren ride a bike on the streets. They're just too bad. From what I understand, my wife collected signatures, and everything was on the up and up. The whole process was really laid out in front of the whole community, and that process was fulfilled and maintained. I'm in the yellow section, but my wife may speak about the yellow section. I'm all for the roads to be fixed. I think it's offensive to suggest that people have been taking money to get this thing through. The petitions, the vote was very straightforward, and I don't really understand what the problem is. And as far as the fact that the last vote, the bill stayed with the person, Mr. McCready had everything to do with that changing, which we really appreciate. It makes a hell of a lot of difference. Anyway, thank you for your time. You guys are awesome. You do a great job.
My name is Bree Gibata. My wife and I were relatively new to the Bloomfield Village. We bought our house about 3 years ago. We live at 312 Hup Cross Road, and we've been there 3 years. We bought a fixer-upper. It's, probably the little blemish in the 4 or 5 block radius. But, specific plans to work the facade, work the inside, do some remodeling, a little bit of landscaping. So, we've talked to a lot of neighbors that, feel for the roads, many that are passionately against it, at least in the current form. And where I'm coming from is kind of 2 things, kind of more from the perspective of like bad business. One of them is regarding disclosures. From the SEC down to realtors, disclosures are a requirement, black and white. If you don't disclose something material, it's a felony, right? In a lot of cases. There was no disclosure regarding the potential 50 to 70K liability when buying the house 3 years ago. And we've seen a lot of houses that are still being sold and there's no disclosure regarding that fact. I mean, whether or not it's legally required, and I understand, Brent, appreciate your perspective that statutory requirements have been met. It's the township, it's the village, it's neighborly to disclose something that material For us, it's only maybe a 10% disclosure because of our fixer-upper. Anybody that's been there 10, 15 plus years, it's a much more significant percent of whatever they originally bought for, and probably, that they don't have much left on their house or own it outright. So the disclosure aspect, I think, is a significant, evidence of bad business. And however this played out, right? I don't know. I'm not pointing fingers because I don't even know enough history too, but it's bad business not to make sure that people know that when they're buying an asset in a neighborhood, right? With people that you get to see every day walking their dog, and I really appreciate that. The other piece of it too is I've spent a lot of the past 20 years working in supply chain, sourcing, and many global and domestic construction companies, verticals, horizontals. So I also see evidence that not enough was done internally to control costs or to make sure that we had any type of dynamic, connection to what the construction process would play out like. Two pieces of evidence that came up today. Lowest bid, that's archaic, right? Like nobody operates on a P&L or a budget of this size and goes with the lowest bid. You go with a perspective that you develop internally on a should cost analysis to understand what it's going to take. You have subject matter experts and advisors internally so that you're not only testing what the contractors are putting in front of you cost-wise, but you also put a contract together that is able to fluctuate a little bit. And everything we've seen so far in the costs have only gone up, and nothing has gone down, or there's no indexing to, materials, whether it's sand and gravel, whether it's equipment or labor. I could.
Yes, because we're past the 3-minute mark that we asked people to stay to. If you could just make a closing statement, it would be great.
Yeah. Two pieces of bad business. I would ask the township neighbors consider, improving those aspects, and there's still time to fix the relationship with the contractors so that the township, the villagers, anybody that's living on the streets have a little more transparency and a connection to how the costs and the quality of the product is going to play out and be sustained, not just capital expenditure with no plan to sustain over 15 plus years.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Ruffino. I live at 313 North Cranbrook Cross. I was on the road committee in 2013 when we tried to originally get this passed, and it would have cost the homeowners $30,000 or less. And of course, who knew that COVID was going to happen or that tariffs would be coming in and out, and now we are at $68,000, but that's what we have to live with. I was a canvasser for this round, and I have to say that the people who I have spoken to or who have answered emails and have asked questions have really educated themselves about what's going on with the roads. They have attended meetings, and there have been multiple meetings by both the township and in the village. And they ask good questions. They know what this is, but they know that this is for the betterment of the community. And the majority did speak on this. It was difficult to get a lot of people to answer emails and knocking on doors, but a majority did vote for this, and I hope that you do respect the fact that the majority of the village in the gold section does want this done, and we want it completed now. If it's delayed, we will probably just be looking at more expense, so we would like it done. I've spoken with people in the pink and blue sections, which are already done. They have been, for the most part, very happy. I know someone who has a brick sidewalk, and it was repaired beautifully. I saw Mike's Landscaping in the neighborhood today on my walk. They are out correcting anything that didn't get finished last fall. And people have been advised if there's problems with sprinklers, anything on their property, please let the village know or let the township know, and it will be repaired. So they have followed through. It looks beautiful. Being a neighborhood person who walks, I have to say that the sidewalks drain now. We don't have an ice problem in the new sections, and it has been a great visual improvement for our village. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Sarah McAfee. I live at 279 North Glengarry in the village.
Our home is in the gold section for the proposed roads project, and we strongly support the roads. The roads in front of our home, they're crumbling, they're potholed, they're an eyesore, but they're also a safety concern for our kids. We recognize the price of construction's steep, but I think we all know that if we wait longer, it will just become steeper. I previously spent 3 years on the village board, and so I've had meetings with the road commission and township leadership like yourselves. And I know that there is no other option than investing in this special assessment district in order to get this improvement done. So I'm asking that the trustees follow the statute and approve the project with the over 50% support that was received through petition. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lynn Groth. I live at 1435 North Glengarry. I was also one of the people who went door to door, spoke to everyone. They had a question, and I couldn't answer the question. I called Kathy, and she was so responsive to everything, professional, and almost everyone that I talked to on my section was positive about it. I didn't have anyone that was negative, so I would encourage you to please vote for this.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Terry Donnelly. I live at 368 North Williamsbury in the gold section. My wife and I moved into our house in December of 1983. And I've heard a number of comments tonight. A couple I want to concur with. One is I wholeheartedly agree with the concept that in 2000 all the roads in the village needed fixed. And here we are 25 years later and still hoping to get it done. We are very much in favor of this project. I think it was very clear that the township followed all the rules under the special assessment statute in order to move this project forward. That was pretty clear. I spoke at the January meeting as well. My wife and I ride our bikes a lot. The block that we live in on Williamsbury, you can't ride your bike going north up toward Bradway. It's just awful. And there are big potholes in the road. And so we can't ride our bikes on our road. We like to go on the other side of Bradway now. In the 2 sections that were done last year, we have a lot of friends who live there, and we're very happy and pleased with the work that was done. You know, there were a few minor comments about certain things, but by and large, we have a lot of friends in the new area that was done last summer, and they're very pleased with the results. But I want you to know we very much support this. These roads need to be fixed. It is unfortunate that the cost is where it is. My recollection is when this was to be done about 8 or 9 years ago, the cost was about $20,000, not 46 or whatever it was, or 40 what was reported before. And so time obviously costs a lot more now. That's unfortunate, but in my view this needs to be done, and we would appreciate your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Matthew Moran. I'm at 345 North Williamsbury in the gold section. And I just wanted to thank Kathy for what she's done as our village manager to get this project this far forward. It's remarkable. The effort that she's put in, the meetings, the transparency, the group meetings, the small group meetings, organizing volunteers, it's been a heroic effort. I also want to thank the township for allowing us to finance this at 1% over a AAA municipal bond rate. That's a very favorable financing package. The roads have been a mess. I've been in the village since 1998, and I worked on the original one to redo the roads, and it failed. We were close, but it failed. All right. The roads are worse now than ever before. The drainage, the potholes, it's just time. We appreciate the township and the trustees to work with us and get this thing done, and it'll be a big asset to Bloomfield Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sean Metros, 876 West Glengarry Circle in the blue section. I got involved with the roads post the failure in 2013. Thank God for Kathy's effort, and I've been running the road committee since then, and I'm ecstatic about my section being done. The roads are fantastic. The construction process was a mess. However, they communicated very well with us. Everything was timely. and the cleanup has been great. So I would just say I've spoken to hundreds of neighbors throughout the neighborhood, and it's very clear universally that the roads need to be fixed. The cost is obviously an issue, and if we would have done it in 2013, obviously we would have saved everyone a lot of money. But it's time, the roads need to be done. It's a safety issue, it's a value to the neighborhood, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with us and hopefully approving this so that we can move forward with the next two sections. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Weisenborn. I'm representing the village. I also live on Hamilton Road in the Gold section. I'm lucky enough to live on, I think, the worst part of the Gold section. The potholes have potholes, and it's hard to argue that the roads don't need to be fixed. They clearly do. Had we done this 10 years ago, it would cost us a lot less money. And I think we've learned our lesson in terms of if you delay the process, it only gets worse. The roads will continue to deteriorate, the cost will continue to go up. I do want to clarify the numbers that Brian Cott gave. We did track as we went through the petition process. We tracked yes votes, obviously, because though we call them votes, but they're not votes. We understand that. I guess that's our shorthand. If you signed the petition, obviously you were a yes vote. If you told us you would not support, you were a no vote. And there were many people who either didn't decide or we never could get a hold of. That was the site of the people that didn't support. So we think we have pretty good results here. It's a clear majority of 52% of the Gold section have supported this by signing the petition. We followed all the rules. We had the right people sign the petitions. We followed the statute requirements as well as your requirements to have both spouses sign, even though only one might be on the title. And all of those signatures have been validated by the township through your normal process. We do appreciate your efforts to help us get our roads fixed. It's very much in need in our neighborhood. This is very much supported by our neighborhood. It's unfortunate that it has become somewhat of a controversy, but it is overall a great advantage and improvement in our neighborhood. And I would hope that tonight you will support this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further public comment on item number 5, confirming the Bloomfield Village Road Paving Special Assessment for the Gold District, I will close the public hearing and open up to the board for any comments or questions.
I just want to address a couple items. First, this is my 9th year on the board, and every year we have these SADs come through, and they seem to get more and more difficult, and the number of people that, complain, and, you have neighbors for, neighbors against, and it's not a good situation. It's certainly not comfortable sitting up here, I'll tell you that. But what I can tell you, and what I've learned about it over the last 9 years, is that there's a law, Act 188, that sets forth how this process is supposed to work, what the requirements are, what is the township's responsibility, what is the resident's responsibility. This is a resident-initiated process. We are here to follow that process, enforce the process. As Kathy said, we checked all the signatures, but we didn't obtain the signatures. And, whether or not there's some confusion about a vote, no vote, there's no votes. We're the only ones who vote. But there are people who sign a petition, and then there are people who don't sign a petition. And the people who don't sign the petition, either because they didn't want it and they're against it, as Kathy said, or you just couldn't get a hold of them, so you have no idea what they think. But either way, they don't count as a positive number. So the 52% of the people that actually signed it. So I just wanted to address that and say that, we're here following the process set forth by Act 188. And so we have to do what the law dictates. The second thing I want to address is something that somebody mentioned about disclosure. And I certainly agree, having spent time in the securities industry, about disclosure and the importance of disclosure. And it's not for us to get involved with or opine about what a seller of real estate should disclose to a purchaser of real estate. There are laws around that. There's ethics in the realtors industry about that. But what I can tell you is that as the treasurer, my office gets contacted every time a property is sold by the title company to confirm whether or not there's unpaid taxes, whether or not there's unpaid assessments, outstanding ordinance violations. What else are they asking about? Water bills. And so they ask for all this information, and we provide it to them that they used when they prepare the closing statements, and to be able to make sure that the correct amount of money is transacted. And I can tell you, at my direction for the last 2 years, that every time a title company in the village has requested information about a property, we have disclosed that there is a pending SAD. So the title companies were aware of this. What they did with it, I don't know. But I said that the assessment was, and we told them it passed vote number 2, it's pending vote number 3, and it's in process. So we decided that we would cover our bases by disclosing that this was in process. So we did mention that to the title companies. So I did want to clarify that that was a decision that we made in consultation with our legal advisors, that we would disclose that when the title companies ask us about special assessments.
Thank you, Michael. And I think it was Mr. Paul had mentioned about why did the law changed with regard to, does an assessment stay with the house or go with the owner? And we changed the law back in, I think it was 2014. It was actually my bill in the legislature, brought to us by the township officials at the time, so that would accelerate the road repaving process. And so that's why it is now, if you sell your home, an assessment will stay with the house. The public hearing is closed right now, Mr. Paul.
Oh, okay.
So you can come back up.
I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, and so that was to hopefully motivate people, but I also think I want to just take a moment here. Michael created a deferment payment plan for people under SADs, and I'd just like to take a moment, Michael, if you don't mind, to explain a program we developed.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a new program that we, as a board, adopted 3 meetings ago, 4 meetings ago, something like that, where residents with a road or water and sewer SAD payment, so an annual assessment, could qualify for a deferment of that assessment for up to 10 years or until they sell their property or refinance their mortgage. And it's income based, so you have to qualify based on your income, and you have to provide proof of your income. And if your assessment, so let's say one of these assessments is going to be, I think in the first year, like $5,000. So if that number is above a threshold, a certain percentage of your income, you qualify for deferment, and we will take that off of your tax bill, and we will hold it back for up to 10 years or until you sell or refinance your property. And you can do that every single year. You can come back and defer each year, and we'll accumulate it over time until you sell or refinance your property, provided that you meet the criteria that we approved. So it's designed to help the residents that need it to cope with these special assessments. And if you're a disabled veteran, you automatically qualify, but you still need to apply. It doesn't happen automatically. You still need to apply, but you will automatically qualify. But aside from that, I would encourage you, if you are interested and you think you might qualify, you can call my office at 248-433-7705. or the assessor's office at 433-7710. Ask questions, get an application. You can also get it on our website. The applications are due at the end of June, but again, we have some flexibility because we have to just decide on who qualifies by September. So, don't delay, but don't let it deter you if you don't get it in June. But we want to help people. That's why we created this program. So please, if you think you might qualify, if you're interested, call my office, call the assessor's office, and we'll be happy to help you.
Thank you, Michael. And some people I met with early this morning said they didn't hear about it. And the reason you may not have heard about it, because we sent it out to the people who are currently working and paying on an SAD. So we will try and now roll it out to the next group so you can see all the instructions, how it works. There's a very high threshold on income, and it has to do with also your assets, but we don't count the house, the asset of your house, into that. So if, let's say, that is your retirement, we're not touching it, okay? So I think it's an excellent program Michael came up with.
If we approve it tonight, the two SADs tonight, next week you'll get a letter from me with the amount of the assessment, when you have to pay it by, and I'll also include information about the special assessment deferment program. So look for that.
Okay, any other, I think, Jennifer, did you have a comment you'd like to make? I wasn't sure.
Unless anybody needs any other information.
Okay, any other comments, Mark?
I would like a few things clarified based on some of the questions that were asked. Where can residents find the signatures that from the residents that met the 50% threshold?
They're able to FOIA those from the clerk's department.
But in previous meetings related to this issue, it was in those meeting minutes or in the board packets.
It was inadvertently added into one meeting. We don't typically add them.
Okay.
And there's already been a FOIA on the signatures, hasn't there?
Multiple.
Multiple.
And, well, it's the individuals that are raising the questions that they can get the information and validate for themselves. I think it's important to be transparent. The other question I had was related to a comment regarding the vendor. Did the vendor change from the previous projects?
Yes, the first two were with Ajax, and this one was Cadillac.
I thought that the first two projects were based on maintaining a rate over the period.
No.
Okay. And then why was the vendor, what was the reasoning for changing the vendor?
It's based off of a closed bid, so it's whoever came in with the lowest bid.
And what are the overage before they come back to the board and ask for more money?
10%.
And if an individual feels that the cost of the assessment will not be recouped in the value of the property, what can we clarify what that procedure is and how the residents go about objecting to the assessment?
That's the purpose of the first public hearing and the second. It reserves or preserves the residents' right to appeal to the Michigan Tax Tribunal. So they have 35 days to submit an appeal through to the tax tribunal with their objections.
Okay. And how would that benefit the individuals concerned with making payments or the assessments on their homes?
Well, the object is that they would prove to the Michigan Tax Tribunal that the assessment doesn't add a certain amount of money to the property value.
So there's more than one way for the individuals concerned about costs and whatnot to get relief. There's more than one way.
They can definitely attempt that way, correct?
Thank you.
Of course.
And then I think it was Mrs. Carpenter on Glengarry, North Glengarry, that talked about warranty and the damage to the roads that were put in last summer. Can you just comment on that, Jennifer?
I can. There was one instance that I am aware of personally where they had some oil leakage from one of the machines that wasn't caught exactly when it happened, and it caused some deterioration, and the road commission is addressing that currently. They will be cutting out a very large section of the road to replace it. That's the only one that I'm aware of.
And then what about the warranty on the roads?
Rick, would you like to speak to? I have the road commission here. They can probably speak to the warranty a little better.
Rick, can you come up to the microphone, please, and introduce yourself?
Rick Saporsky, Road Commissioner for Oakland County. We don't really have a warranty. That's not the way the road work typically works, the industry. Everything is tested, all the materials and the density and everything's tested that went in. So if it meets specifications when it's built, then they've completed their requirements, the contractor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments from the board? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution confirming the special assessment role for the gold phase of Bloomfield Village road paving, special assessment district, number 428, and authorize the road commission for Oakland County to proceed with the project.
Is there support?
Support with one quick change. I think the resolution, is this the resolution that needs the adjustment? The resolution mentions phase 4.
No, that's the next one.
Is it the next one?
Phase 4 is the one that we stated. The third, this one should be fine.
This one's fine, okay. So
there's
they both said
support.
4. One should say 3.
There's support on the original motion by Trustee Barnett,
Yep.
and there's support by Clerk Brooke. If all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, item number 6. Public hearing of assessment number 2. Consider approval of the resolution confirming the special assessment role for the yellow phase of Bloomfield Village Road Paving SAD number 429, and consider authorizing the RCOC Road Commission of Oakland County to proceed with the project presented by Jennifer Worthman, our Deputy Assessor. Welcome back, Jennifer.
Thanks. Okay, so we're going to look at phase 4 of the Bloomfield Village road paving project. This is also referred to as the yellow phase, and tonight we are hearing the public hearing of assessment. Phase 4 includes part of Judson Bradway Bloomfield Village number 2, part of Judson Bradway Bloomfield Village number 9, number 10, and then all of Judson Bradway's Bloomfield Village number 11 and Judson Bradway Bloomfield Village number 12. This is up in what would be considered the northern part of Bloomfield Village, just south of Corton. Again, this is referred to as the yellow phase. This phase is 2.05 miles of public road, which includes Sandringham Way, Hemsworth Court, Courtleigh Terrace, Aberdovey Place, Twin Maples Lane, North Glengarry Road, East Glengarry Circle, Indian Mound West, Indian Mound East, Covington Road, Indian Mound Trail, and Indian Mound South. The project consists of pulverizing the existing road and placing new asphalt pavement 4 inches thick over the aggregate base with full cold depth milling and removal, total curb and gutter removal and replacement, total under drain installation with sodded shoulders. Minor drainage improvements will be made to reasonably assure drainage of the pavement, and all shoulders and disturbed areas will be covered with topsoil and sod. A maximum 5-foot approach will be constructed to the existing driveways to provide a smooth transition from the newly paved roadway where necessary. The Road Commission received bids on March 25th of 2025. The lowest bid was received from Cadillac Asphalt. The final project cost is $8,712,549. This is a final assessment across 151 parcels of $57,699. This is 4.3% over the estimate that was included on the petition. Projects can be financed over 15 years, interest to be determined after the bonds are sold at 1% above the bond rate. Tonight I'm requesting that we hold public hearing number 2, that we approve resolution number 3, and that we authorize the Road Commission to proceed with this project.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. So at this time, we'll open up for public hearing, and if you're here to address item number 6, a public hearing of assessment number 2, now is your time to come up to the microphone on my right, your left, and you'll have 3 minutes if you could just introduce yourself and your address, and we're ready to listen.
I'm Gerd Keufel at 1329 Indian Mound Road with the yellow section. I've been in the house since 1978. The roads have gone nothing but downhill since then. They're long overdue to be done. I know this project is expensive. The situation in front of our house has been just absolutely awful. The little connector between Indian Mound and Glengarry is impossible to navigate. I think we need to do this, and I'm fully in support of the project, even though it's darn expensive. I recommend that the board proceed with our project. It's overdue. We need to get it done. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Gary.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Kristen Soul. I'm at 3335 Burning Bush Road, currently in the blue section, which was recently completed, and we're ecstatic about the current roads. I really enjoy watching all the kids rollerblading, playing street hockey, biking, and it's a much improvement to our neighborhood. It's a problem that we've had over 40 years. I think people have mentioned since 2020, we've been told we need a full overhaul of the roads. Unfortunately, the position we're in is, that the residents have to pay for it. Township, finances it, and the road commission is responsible for the work. But I know it's difficult for some of the neighbors, and I sympathize with that and empathize with that. However, this is the position we're in, and it's a problem, and we need to fix it. And this seems to be the only fix. I'm currently the president, not much longer, May 20th. I get to hand over. But I'm currently the president of the village. I've been a longtime road volunteer, and I can say that in being, a part of all the small group meetings and learning about the process and the situation, is that we're following all the guidelines, we followed all the procedures properly. And as somebody who did canvass to collect signatures of the neighbors, I know it's a little confusing because people want to call it a vote, but it's a petition, so those signatures that are collected go in the yes category, and anybody that, was not in favor of the roads, we would, consider a no vote. But as somebody who collected signatures, we would accurately take note of who was undecided or who was not in favor, and we wanted to respect people's time and not hound people that were not in favor. So this is how we collected those no votes, or the people that we couldn't reach out to, how we categorized them as somebody as undecided. So if anybody felt like they didn't get to express a no vote, it's probably we already marked them as such. I'm up here before you because we believe in a harmonious village and pride ourselves in harmony. And I encourage you to adopt this resolution so we can continue the harmony in our neighborhood and improve the roads throughout the village. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Tatiana Latinsky. I live on 1365 Indian Mound West, and I'm here to object to the proposed special assessment district on both legal and procedural grounds. Michigan law is clear on requirements for valid special assessments. First, it has to deliver direct and proportionate benefit to the properties assessed. Broad or speculative benefits do not meet this threshold. In our case, the proposed improvements were potentially beneficial to general area, do not guarantee measurable or equal benefit to each individual property being assessed. Second, it must be based on reasonableness and fairness, and it cannot impose disproportionate costs on residents who do not receive comparable value in return. The current assessment proposal lacks any individualized benefit analysis and violates this principle. Procedurally, there's definitely issues there too. The homeowners association board failed to clearly disclose the difference between signing a petition and casting a vote to residents. There are documented instances where residents believed they were signing to oppose the project when in fact their signatures were counted as support for them. There is not a technical error, it's a procedural failure. Second, the board failed to disclose key elements of the cost structure. Homeowners were not informed and not clear what organization will receive portion of the proceeds, such as township collecting percentage for contingency, nor were residents clear in separate payments would be made to the Road Commission of Oakland County. This lacks transparency and is unacceptable. Third, the board nominated the Road Commission to bid the project, even though the commission is required to publish its budgeted amount. This disclosure compromises the bidding process by giving contractors a pricing ceiling and is likely inflating costs. The bidding process should have been outsourced to third party. And finally, when residents requested benchmarking or comparative cost data, the Road Commission refused to provide it. Without that information, it is impossible to evaluate whether assessment is reasonable or inflated. To summarize, the proposed SAD fails to direct and proportionate benefit test, violates the reasonableness and fairness principles, suffers from major procedural flaws, and deprives property owners of their rights for transparency, informed consent, and due process. And for these reasons, I respectfully urge the Township Board to reject the SAD until proper legal and procedural standards are met. Thank you.
My name is Wendy Schwartz, and I live at 2580 Bradway in the Village. And I'm not in this section, but I do have a couple of concerns I would like the board to address. We in the last 4 years, tore down our house that was built in 1952 and did a major remodel. We did it as a 5 to 10 year plan, hoping that when we sell it, we will retain the value and increase the value in our home. And this road project, I think, is not going to support that. It's going to make it much harder to sell our house with this assessment being placed on it. But more importantly, the biggest issue that I have right now is the sewers. Has anyone addressed the fact that we have an antiquated sewer system, and we're putting this major money into the roads, and if our sewers become a major problem, our roads are going to need to be torn up. And I haven't heard anybody address this. We have a big problem in front of our house. We have to call Oakland County Road Commission out every single time we have a big storm. And I've been told that the storm drains are antiquated and need addressing. And we're spending all this money and assessing all the residents, and I haven't heard anybody address this. I've attended many meetings, and I haven't heard one word about this. And I would appreciate your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Greg Kraus. I live at 1375 Aberdobe Place in the Village. And just to start, for the purposes of preserving my objections for the Michigan Tax Tribunal, I object to the special assessment as disproportionate to any benefit conferred. And in fact, it may lower the value of my property. And moreover, it is unreasonable. Another question that I do have is I'd like to echo the previous speaker here. I too have concerns about the sewers. I was speaking to someone who had previously lived in Verner Estates and was told that when they went to do the road, the SAD for the road there, they timed it so that they could do the sewer work first or in conjunction with the roads. And so it is quite a concern that we're going to spend $8 or $9 million here to do roads, and if we come back even in 10 or 15 years and have to rip them all up again, this money's wasted. So, I think maybe I would be in favor of pausing the project at least to, work out a way to, stage it so that we do the sewers in conjunction with, any road work. Even though I object to the road work, I think that doing that without considering the sewers is a major mistake. And finally, and a question that I'd be curious if you all could address is, we had almost a 5% cost overrun for the actual assessment versus what was presented in a petition. And that may well have changed votes. I mean, that's thousands of dollars right there. And I don't know if there's, any consideration that's been made to that, the amount that was proposed to the residents versus the amount it actually was in the yellow section, significantly different. So for those reasons, I object to the creation of the SAD and the specific assessment on the property. Thank you.
I'd like to reintroduce myself. It's Doug Paul. I'm in the white section. I spoke before in the gold section. We do have bad roads. In some areas, it's much worse than others, And if you go through it, there's some areas that there's nothing really wrong with it, Thank God. But this taxes everybody. It's $58,000 per home, and I'm 86 years old. I'm a widower now. I've lost my dog. I'm thinking, what am I going to do with my home? And somebody's going to say, well, we're going to reduce the price of it $58,000. I don't object to fixing the roads. I do question the gentleman here who talked about how it was voted. I think there's problems with it. I would like to see it revoted because people who signed it voted. People like myself, I didn't vote because I said no. There's they allegedly say there's X number of percent, 30% did vote and or said no. I don't know how the hell they said no because I just didn't vote. And then there's 30 other percent that never voted. Allegedly maybe they were one of me saying, well, if I don't vote, it's a no. I question the accuracy of the vote. I would like to propose that we revote and then maybe reconsider whether we do the sewers, we do what, or get somebody in there because the cost has gone up significantly. I know prices have gone up. I don't argue that. But I'm not certain we're doing it the right way. And I'm not even certain that people in that area voted for it. Gentlemen, thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you.
No.
You shot.
You get one.
Yeah, you get one. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kraus.
Brian Cott, 138 Hub Cross Road. I would just like to address this sewer issue. As I said, I've been involved in this a long time. Before the process started, the road commission evaluated the sewers and determined that the sewers were in acceptable shape and did not need to be redone. That was done at the initial stages of this project, and I'm sure that our friends from the road commission can address that. But the sewers were taken into account before this process started. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lynn Groth, 1435 North Glengarry. Again, I was one of the people who went door to door and solicited what people wanted. If I had a question, I called Kathy. If anybody had questions, they could have called Kathy. Kathy knows all of it. She's been honest and transparent, and if you couldn't get an answer, you went to a meeting. I think there's been plenty of opportunity for people to have their questions answered. And when I went to the door, someone had a question, I called Kathy if I didn't know the answer. So I don't think a lot of these things people are saying about not having an opportunity, they've had many opportunities to find out what they really wanted to know. I don't think that it's fair to say that the process hasn't met its requirements because we've all done it the way we think it needed to be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Susan Savas. I live on Bradway, and I'm not even up for this tonight, and I know our roads need to be done. And I guess I should have just called you because I had a question. I have heard that the next section for the green is going to be...
Susan, will you talk to the board, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, okay. Kathy, I heard that the next section to be done, which is the green section, is going to be at least $70,000 per household? You're saying no, it's not?
I don't think we know at this point what it would be yet, and there's been no petition for it.
So I'm wondering, at what point will we get that information? Because on Broadway, we have a lot of common spaces that will be put into our cost. And if we pause the pricing, or if we pause just for a moment the project, and added the common areas into the overall neighborhood because we all benefit from it, is there a way to just take a pause and reassess that?
Well, when we close the hearing, the board will comment.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Kathy Weisenborn. I live on Hamilton Road, but I also represent the village. Just to be clear, on the yellow section, we have 54.3% support. That is 54.3% of the parcels in this section, not 54.3% of the people who voted, but the denominator here is 151 parcels. That's the total. So to the extent that everybody else that we didn't hear from voted no, we would still have 54.3% support, majority support for this project. There is a rumor of $70,000 for the green section going around. We don't have any estimates. I haven't seen any. Jen hasn't seen any. That appears to have been made out of whole cloth, and I don't quite understand, but we don't have that. One of the comments tonight, it was about disclosure of what was paid to the township and what was the contingency and what was the amount that was paid to the road commission for this project or this estimate, this assessment. All of those numbers are in the official petition. That petition is on our road website. There's also the township has informed all the residents of the petition's availability as well. So that information was available. We did hold 25 small group meetings about the road project. We've stood up our own website. There's plenty of information out there, and I would be happy to address any question that residents have on this or the green project as we go forward. I do appreciate your support tonight for the yellow section. The cost overage, if you will, the amount that the bid is in excess of the petition estimate is within your parameters. It's important that we get this project going, and with your approval tonight, we'll be on our way to 80% of the village having new roads. And it is an improvement that we really need in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Tracy Keenan. I live at 2612 Amberley. I'm not in this section. I'd love the board to help clarify the time in which the sewers were looked at. I heard it was at the beginning. So as the gentleman said, if that was 10 years ago, have they been reviewed each time for each section and assessed the current state and what they're in? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Brock. I'm in the gold section on Morning View. I just wanted to make a comment about the sewers. Just as a clarification, there may have been some checking of the main sewers, but that doesn't mean that the hookups coming from the houses are proper. We just had some friends who sold their house 2 years ago on Hamilton, and the entire street had to be torn up, not because the sewer was bad, but because the hookup to the sewer was bad. But it still required the street had to be torn up because of clay pipe. And I'll guarantee you there are other houses that are facing the exact same situation. And it would be appropriate, of course it's up to everybody to do it, to have their sewer scoped to see if they have a similar problem. Because they date back to the 30s. So guaranteed there are problems with the sewer hookups, even if the main is okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further comment on item number 6, we will close the public hearing and open up for any board comments or questions. And I know Corey, our Director of Engineering, is here. Corey, would you like to make any comment on the sewer issues? Just take a few minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything more I can add regarding the sanitary sewer inspection. We know that the Water Resource Commission owns a lot of that combined sewer system. The Road Commission for Oakland County owns, operates and maintains the storm drainage that ties into the combined system. A lot of this work was done before my time. The groundwork for the SAD was done before my time here. So I can't comment one way or another on whether the township performed any sewer investigation, cleaning televised of the existing sewer, or WRC or RCOC. So I don't feel comfortable commenting one way or another.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that the system is in good working order at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And I can add, because the question was posed by other residents, I believe Noah told me that in addition to the pre-con meetings that we have before each phase kicks off, where we meet with HRC, we meet with WRC, we meet with all the utility holders that are involved in this, and we make sure that the due diligence has gone into inspections and things such as that. 2011 and 2018 are sticking in my head as work that NOAA could say had recently been done to these sewer systems.
Okay.
I have further notes at my desk, I just don't have them with me.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I do have a question there was a comment made on storm drainage, and I think in a previous meeting, the road commission made comments on footings and various changes and why we had to go down to a specific level. Could we have them come up and reiterate those
Sure.
requirements?
What was your question specifically?
I think in one of the previous meetings on the changes in this area, there was items relating to footings and the storm drainage system that had to be resolved on this project to improve the stormwater drainage.
Well, as a part of the project, we're cleaning out all the storm catch basins, and we're lining them to make sure they're structurally and the structural integrity is good.
Okay.
It's a part of the project.
So is this also being done in Verner Estates? Because we've also had questions regarding the other project in Verner Estates and why it's...
Verner Estates is a water project.
Okay, but I thought there's also roads.
There will be a road project, but later on, but that's a water project that we're doing first.
Correct, but is there also a storm drainage issue over there?
Verner
No.
Estates is not a curb and gutter subdivision,
Okay.
it is an
So
open
it's-
drain.
So that would help justify the difference in price?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's ditches
Yeah.
and culverts.
Correct. Open ditches and culverts.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
So I think in summary, it's fair to say that we do look at drainage in sewers.
Absolutely.
And it is considered, and when needed and necessary, they're staged appropriately.
Absolutely.
I wanted to address a couple of things. First, I addressed the Verner Estates issue. That's a water project that was on our long-term capital plan.
Right.
And when the residents approached the township about doing a road SAD, our SAD team reached out to our engineering team and our public works team and said, do you have anything in your pipeline? Okay, your project plan, our capital plan. And they said, yes, we have a water main replacement plan that we were going to do in 2028. And so we said, so what happened is because the residents got the signatures to do the SAD, we said, okay, well, we'll do the SAD in 27 and we'll do the water main project in 26. Am I correct, Corey? Okay. So we're going to do the water main replacement in 26 and then we're going to do their road SAD in 27.
25 and 26.
25 and
Their roads, yep, their roads will be done by the end of next
Yeah,
year.
they're working on this summer.
All right, so I'm sorry, so the
Yep.
water project is this year?
Yeah.
Okay, the water project will be this year, the road will be next year. Okay, either way, we moved ahead their already planned water project because they approached us about a road project.
Absolutely, we always coordinate those
Right, so that way we wouldn't have to tear up the roads to do the water mains. Okay, so I wanted to address that. The other thing I wanted to address was in relation to the contingency and the township payments. So as Kathy said, the amount of payments were disclosed on the petitions, and there are three things that I wanted to address. One is the construction contingency, which is an amount that we add to the total cost of the project to allow for overruns in case things come up in construction, which inevitably, sometimes happen. And so here we have an 8% contingency. We usually have a 10%, we lowered it. So it's an 8% contingency. And we also have a township, what we call a legal and financing cost. And what that is that that's the cost of selling the bonds that we use to finance the project. And then lastly is the township administrative and management fee, which is less than half of 1%. And that is to cover our internal legal costs and other hard costs that we incur in administering the district. And so what I mean by that is that we create a district which has its own separate set of books, and we keep track of all these costs, the cash that comes in and the costs that go out. And so, and we keep that separate as the residents of the district's money. And so when the bills come in, we pay those bills. If the contingency is not used, we don't keep it. It stays in the district and goes back to the residents. Likewise, in the legal and financing costs, if it costs us less to issue the bonds than we have in the budget, that money stays in the district. It stays as the residents' money. And by law, at the end of the district, so in 15 years, when all the bonds are paid off and the district is considered closed, if there's any surplus money that's available, it's refunded to the residents of the district. Okay, it's not kept by the township. And one of the things that I've encouraged our team to do is, after the red and blue districts that we just did last year, we didn't use, and I don't know the exact number, so don't quote me, but we didn't use the full contingency. So if there's enough money there, we're looking into the legalities about potentially, and maybe I shouldn't let the cat out of the bag here, but about potentially refunding that money early rather than keeping it for 15 years and then giving it back to the residents in 15 years. So the point I'm trying to make is that this is not township money. We don't keep it, okay? It's kept in a separate set of books for the residents of the district. And if the expenses come in below, that money stays with the district and at some point will be refunded to the residents. So.
And Michael, will you just explain the 1% and how that works?
The 1% on the bond rate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, okay, great question. So we use our AAA bond rating, one of the few municipalities in the state to have a AAA bond rating to get the lowest possible borrowing costs, okay? So the last SAD that we did was in March, April, I think it was, and it was 3.7%, okay? And then we charge 1% above that. So we charge the residents in that case 4.7%. Last year on the red and blue section, it was 3.6, so we're charging 4.6. And the reason that we charge that 1%, again, is to keep enough money in the district to be able to make sure that we pay off the bonds. Because as a resident, you can pay off your assessment at any time in the 15 years. You don't have to wait 15 years. You can pay it off at any time. And if you pay it off early, and we stop collecting the interest, then we're on the hook for that interest on the bond. So that's why we charge 1% above the bond rate to make sure that there's enough money in the district to cover future bond payments in case of any prepayments. But what happens is, at the end of the 15 years, if there's, as I said, surplus money available in the district that includes the 1% that we charge, we don't keep it. It goes back to the residents of the district, okay? And I have people who call my office who have a road SAD from 12 years ago saying, how much money is in our district? They want to know. Okay, I'll get you that answer. And I get them an answer and say, this is how much money is in your district. And so we're keeping track of it, and it's the residents' money, it is not the township's money. And so I want to be very clear about that.
Thank you, Michael. Any other comments from the board? If not,
Let me say just one thing real quick. I just wanted to mention that, you know, that these meetings are really important, and I appreciate you coming here to express your thoughts. And of course, as has been mentioned, in order to appeal, this is where you would need to make your statement. What you don't see is all the work that goes into this. And Jen, the amount of work that goes on in engineering and in assessing is incredible. It's a huge task, and I want to thank you guys for doing that. The village board and Kathy, the work that has gone on there to present this information, to be available to respond to questions, to prepare a website, is beyond what anybody has ever done to support a SAD. It's also quite incredible. And within the township here, the administration is constantly looking at these things to make sure that they're procedurally correct, that we've followed all the steps in the process, that we've published what had to be published, when it had to be published. And we have carefully considered the legally required benefit and whether it's present for each phase as the specific numbers come in by looking at assessments and appraisals. And based on the 54%, residents have said that now's the time. Kicking the can down the road doesn't pay off. Just gets worse roads and makes it more expensive. And so I'll certainly be supporting this as I have the others.
Okay.
Thank you, Martin. That just certainly makes it very clear. And with that said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution confirming special assessment role for the yellow phase of the Bloomfield Village Road paving SAD number 429 and authorizing the Road Commission of Oakland County to proceed with the project.
Their support?
This is the resolution that we corrected.
It says phase 4, but should be phase 3.
Okay.
Phase
2.
This should be
It
phase
says,
4.
it was published as phase 3, but it's in
Okay.
there as
This
phase
is phase
4.
4.
Yeah,
Got
we've updated it.
We're good.
Got it.
Support.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 7, consider approval to transfer and commit funds to the Equipment and Replacement Fund presented by Jason Tice, our Finance Director.
You want to hold on a second?
Yeah, we'll just
Yeah,
hold on a second, yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Number 8.
We moved it to number 8, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
These new chairs are so comfortable, they'll just stick around now.
Right? They are. Look at them. They're beautiful.
Yeah, the old chairs, you're like, oh, God.
It's so much brighter in here.
Yeah,
It was
it is.
dingy and dark.
Right.
Keeps you awake.
Jason, were you napping in the office back there, waiting for your time? Someone get?
I was pacing with
Well, you-
anticipation.
I bet you were.
Yeah. Well, now it's your time.
Okay, thank you. Again, item number 7, consider approval to transfer and commit funds to the Equipment and Replacement Fund presented by Jason Tice, our Finance Director. Welcome, Jason.
Good evening. So in your packet, there was a memo that looks similar, I'm sure, to everyone. Same format. It's an annual request that usually happens first meeting of May. So back in January, February, we had some budget amendments. At that time, there was an estimate of what our transfer out could be into the Equipment and Replacement Fund for future capital. We're getting close to closing the books, so there are a couple big items that affected that estimate at that time. So it's actually larger than what we thought a few months ago. One of them was with the interest rates. We had a positive movement in our market value, not the investment earnings, but the market value we have to book of $900,000 positive, and then about $1.1 million of a stormwater projects that we were under the assumption, and the department head in charge of that project was told by the contractors it would be done by fiscal year end, March 31. Couple weeks into April, I was notified that they didn't complete those, so that's a big number, 1.1 million, that now is shifted into the current year, and that won't affect this year's budget. It'll just move some other projects further down the line. So what I'm asking for is transfer and committal of up to $7,075,000 to the Equipment and Replacement Fund for fiscal year 24-25.
And again, Jason, explain again the 1.1 million. It's really a rollover because it just wasn't spent, but it's going to be spent, right?
Yeah, we can't, I'd love to, but we can't record anything that wasn't complete by March 31. We can't record. So that'll delay some of the projects that were going to happen this year that'll now happen in 27. We'll just shift everything down the line.
Thank you. Any questions for Jason?
Why would we shift a project when the money is in the capital improvement fund? We could spend it this year and continue forward with the other projects.
That was the recommendation and suggestion by the department head managing those projects, so we'd have to circle back with him on that. But if you went that route, you would start discussing budget amendments and then whether it's even possible to have that amount of projects going at the same time or not. So his recommendation was those other ones weren't emergency, they could be pushed down and we can just reallocate those funds to this project that didn't get done.
We were supposed to receive a report regarding investment income for the different funds. I would like to understand again why in the central services fees there's a requirement for investment activity by Treasury, yet water and sewer receives no investment income. Neither does building inspection. And why aren't those funds being transferred to those enterprise funds? And most importantly is, so that's number one. Number two, public safety does not have enough money to get through the February tax payment. And what's most concerning is there's no evidence that where the money's coming from to pay payroll and vouchers. Plus there are other payments going out, such as you'd mentioned that the central services fees are collected mid-year. So if there's a negative, if their expenses exceed revenues and you're using up all of your fund balance at the beginning of the year, and for public safety, how are those payments made by public safety? There's also pension bond payments required in November. How are those payments? Where does the money come from? We don't see the information in the quarterly reports. I think those additional funds, other than the 1.1 million mentioned, should actually go into public safety, so public safety has enough cash to meet payroll through February.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I think we've answered those questions quite a few times, so I'd recommend...
Actually, you have not answered the questions on the investment income.
Okay, what I'm going to recommend to you, though...
Treasurer Shostak said that he would provide details regarding those investment revenues.
Okay.
And the fact that you have money coming in and we're being charged, you're charging an investment service in those fees, and there's no investment income going into waters and sewer, that's just not right.
Well, Mark, it's a difference of opinion and process and practice. And as we've stated before, it's worked. We have a AAA bond rating, and my suggestion would be to make an appointment with our treasurer and finance director and sit down and go through this. And we'll leave our door open for you to come in so we can walk through it with you and show you again how our practice is. We welcome the opportunity to sit down with you.
Let me just answer one question. The central services fee for treasury services is not for investments, it's for collection of their revenue.
There's
building inspection
$100,000 plus in the report
building
for
inspection,
investment.
Building inspection collects permit revenue, the water and sewer fund.
And there's a separate item for collections.
Okay, so just a second. I think our trustee has the floor, Mark, so just let him finish.
Well, I mean, that's my point, is that the treasury services for the central services is about collection and processing of payments. Investment services is a separate issue. And we've been very clear on the fact that the law requires the treasurer to deposit the interest into the general fund.
The law does not require.
The law.
Mark, again, I
The
think,
law does not
our
require-
treasurer has the floor. Can you please give him the
require is not
otherwise,
an accurate
we'll just
statement.
move forward.
Okay,
Can't
let's
place
move
it.
Make a
forward.
motion,
Not
would you
accurate.
please make
I'll
a
make
motion?
a motion because
Right, thank you.
Treasurer Shostak had the floor and he's,
Go
trustee's
ahead.
being rude.
Go ahead, Neil.
Make a motion that we transfer the funds as, to the equipment and replacement fund as requested by the finance director.
Is there support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
item number 8. Thank you, Jason. Item number 8, consider approval of proposed ordinance number 695, small cell wireless communications facility ordinance. Martin?
Okay, at the last meeting, this was presented by council and by a member of my staff, where we discussed the item. Since that time, it has been published, and notifications have been provided through publication as required. Don't know if there's any other questions, but the intent here was to streamline the process to maintain our control to the extent we're allowed to by law, but also make it a little more effective for the businesses that want to do this work for us here in the township to help improve cellular coverage.
Okay, any questions for Martin on the small cell? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Support, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes, thank you. Item number 9, consider legal services agreement between Bloomfield Township and Seacrest Wardell, presented by Mike McCready. We have Mark with us today, and Mark will continue to do work with us in a different capacity. And our contract had expired when Dirk Beckerleg had retired, so this is just creating a new agreement, which is included in your packet. Are there any questions or comments?
I move we approve and confirm the agreement as presented.
Support.
Support, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mark.
and item number 10A goes back to Mark, approved board minutes of April 28, 2025.
Okay, the items that were removed from the consent agenda, the motions that were made were as supported. There are no dollar values mentioned, so that's number 1. Number 2, the SADs were mentioned by name, not by number. So I would like those items corrected in the minutes.
Can you explain that one more time?
So first of all, when you approve the SAD, you mention them by location, not by SAD number. In the meeting minutes, it lists the SAD number. So that's not what actually happened during the meeting. That's number 1. Number 2, all of the dollar values that are in the motions in the minutes were never mentioned in the video. They just said, approve as presented. There was no presentation. So those dollar values should not appear in the minutes.
So with
It's all
regard
on
to the
video.
dollar.
I don't know what
so-
what SAD are you talking about?
There's
So
an
the
SAD
street-
in the minutes,
The street lighting?
street lighting. So in the video, first of all, you look at the SAD, there's numbers mentioned next to the SAD. Those SAD numbers were never mentioned when the motion was made. It was the location of the community. So that's not correctly reflected in the minutes. Regarding the other motions with dollar values and expenditures, the motions that were made in the video say, I make a motion to approve as presented. Nothing was presented. So those dollar values should not show in the written meeting minutes.
Thanks, Mark. The dollar numbers are in the packet that was presented, and all of us have that material.
The packet is the
And
packet, but the motions that were read did not include a dollar value.
So when we make a motion that says, as presented, that has historically included the materials that are in the packet. We did it again, we did it tonight. You know, the motion is written in the packet, and, you know, that's what we're referring to.
Again, if today dollar values are read, they're put up on the screen. They're put up on the screen. For example, Jennifer did that today. That was not done during the meeting. And if you go look at the video, it's inconsistent what is in the video. So those are my concerns. There's enough votes to approve the minutes. My no vote is not going to change anything. If you don't want to change them, you don't have to, because you have the votes to go ahead.
So the other item is in a reference to the Carilion Hills, Chestnut Run, and Knob Hill SADs, and they're supported by the packet materials, where that number comes from
Again,
as
I
presented.
asked for things to be presented. Members of the board said, no, I like the way it's being done. I have a right to pull it out. I have a right to have that request to be presented when the motions are read, and even the township attorneys asked us to read the full motions on occasion, and in this case, they were not. And I don't think the way they're written, they reflect what happened in the meeting, especially when you look at the video.
Mark, would you like to make a motion then?
I've said what I've said.
Okay.
At this point, I'm not going to make a motion, but I am going to vote no.
Okay.
And the record will reflect why I'm voting no.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay.
I do have one correction that I want to mention, which is, of all the items taken off the consent agenda, F was not removed, but the minutes don't reflect F as being part of the consent agenda approval. B, C were mentioned, but F was also left on consent.
For tonight?
So that's a change to the minutes that I'm mentioning.
Yeah.
The same minutes that we're just talking about
from 2
now.
weeks ago. Correct.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion for
To
item
approve
number
as
10A.
with the amendment I just mentioned.
Okay.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 4-1, thank you. Okay, so item number 10D, consider approval of the 2025 Jan Rosselli Safety Path Retaining Wall and Fence Repair Contract Award submitted by Corey Almus. And Mark, you had a comment or question on that?
I had questions on the fencing. There were concerns being raised earlier this year regarding fencing and keeping the fencing costs low. I was wondering if any new information was gleaned or any materials were found that could replace some of the old wood fencing that the township seems to prefer, that would not deteriorate as quickly.
I think they presented that to us in pretty much detail.
That was presented by Corey previously, and he stated that, as I recall, he stated that he was going to listen to the board and try and utilize the split rail wood fencing as opposed to the current aluminum fencing, which is in some areas, and my understanding is that's how he's moving forward.
The memo states that they're going to use pressure-treated wood to better keep water out.
And also that there will be some footings that's necessary to help minimize any water damage.
Pea gravel base, yes.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve item number 10D, please.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes. Okay, item number 10F, approved payroll and vouchers for May 12, 2025. Mark, you had a question or a comment on that?
Yes, my no vote still stands. The quarterly reports do not support the payroll payments that are going out, especially from public safety. In mid-year, there was not enough fund balances available to support those payments going out. The township has chosen not to provide the information. Therefore, I'm not required to vote yes on the payroll and voucher section. I don't agree with the methodology on approving the water and sewer expenses regarding the meter changes. We only approved $300,000, and it seems to be inconsistent with the purchasing policy of the township. I also don't agree with the SLC meter fees that appear in the payments. Similar products are available where no fees are required for townships or for residents to be able to see that there's a water leak. And if we're paying over $12,000 a month for that service, when you can go to Home Depot and buy similar products and there's no monthly fee. That seems excessive.
Okay, any further comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, that leads us to item number 10, adjournment. All, can a motion to
Move
adjourn?
we adjourn.
All in support, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.